Hello, my name is Mr. Fish, and welcome to your online learning for today. I'm going to teach you the body systems. I want to remind all people, young and old, that your body is the most valuable thing you will ever own. Don't break it. Wear a helmet when you bicycle. Wear a helmet when you skateboard. Wear a helmet when you ride those ATVs. But be aware the helmet may not protect your brain from everything. So you still have to be cautious when you skateboard and you jump off the stairs and try to grind on the rail. Keep in mind you are jeopardizing the most valuable thing you're ever going to own in order to learn a trick. These are the systems of the body. The systems are made up of organs. Let's go through them. Please excuse the poor quality of my drawing. This fellow looks like he's vomiting up his digestive system, but I just pulled it out here so that I could show it to you. The digestive system. The digestive system, we take in food. It begins at the mouth and it ends at the anus. And we can talk about parts of the body as long as we use professional clinical language and sound like professionals. If we start talking about vulgar expressions or other expressions, then we're no longer professional and there's no point. The digestive system begins at the mouth. It goes through the food goes through the esophagus to the stomach. It goes down, the digestive process begins in the mouth with saliva. Your saliva starts to break down the food. It's further broken down with the stomach acids. The stomach has acids that help to break down the food. It goes through the small intestine as it does. The nutrients in the food pass over into the bloodstream. As it gets to the large intestines exist to reclaim any water that is in the product as it goes through you, gets to the large intestine, and the large intestine absorbs that water. And what comes out has a lot of vulgar names. If you talk to the doctor, they will ask you, what color was your stool? And they're not talking about a three-legged stool or a four-legged stool. They're talking about excrement. They're talking about the polite colloquial word is poop. But they will say, have you had a bowel movement today? And what that means is the intestines or the bowels are constantly squeezing and moving the excrement through the body. And when the rectum squeezes and the excrement, the stool, the poop comes out of the anus, it's because the bowels moved. The bowel muscles contracted and moved. So a doctor might say, did you have a bowel movement today? And then they might say regarding the poop, what color is your stool? These are terms it's important to use. It's disrespectful in healthcare to use terms like, well, shit, or something like that. We don't use terms. You may need to use colloquial terms like poop, and that's okay. But be aware you don't want to show disrespect by using vulgar terms when we talk about the human body. And that is the digestive system, the fancy medical term for it. You can't completely read gastrointestinal system. Gastro means stomach, intestinal means intestines, the system. So a system is a combination of organs that serve a purpose or more than one purpose in the body. Don't break it. It's the most valuable thing you're ever going to own. Even if your body has imperfections, even if you're overweight, even if you have acne, it's still a wonderful, glorious thing that you've been given. Don't break it. If someone says you should buy a motorcycle, tell them no. Okay, motorcycles are dangerous. Even if you're a good rider, the other drivers on the road aren't so good. This is your brain. This is your brain. I've taken it out for convenience. I've taken the brain out of the body, and the brain is connected to the spinal cord, which goes down through your spinal column. This is the brain. This is the spinal cord. These are all the nerves coming out of the spinal cord. This is your brain, and the spinal cord are called the nervous system. Okay, you don't want to mess up your brain. When you jump your skateboard and you hit your head on the concrete, your brain can be bruised. There can be bleeding inside of your skull. And this is a huge problem because the skull has no place to go. The brain has no place to go when it swells up, and so it can crush itself inside of your head. If you have a bleed inside of your head, the brain can be crushed against the wall of the skull. Typically what they do, if you get a bad bleed in your head, they drill a hole in your head to let the pressure off. I think you might prefer to avoid that by wearing a helmet and not taking stupid risks. If you take stupid risks and you get hurt, it's your own fault. And you might forget the third grade. Maybe you'll have to go back to the third grade. Maybe you'll never graduate from the third grade. If you damage your brain, be very careful. Please and thank you. Okay, the nervous system has the brain and the spinal cord and all the nerves throughout the body. The respiratory system is where we take in air, we take in oxygen, and when we breathe out CO2 gas. So I have the air going in through the nose, but it can also go in through the mouth, and the air comes down the bronchial tubes into the lungs. In Spanish, they say los pulmones. In the lungs, there are tiny, tiny air sacs and called alveoli, and the air goes into the alveoli and crosses over into the bloodstream. The oxygen goes into the bloodstream, the CO2 comes out, and we breathe out the CO2. Your lungs are very important. Be good to them. The circulatory system of the body. Circulatory system. My big head is in the way. Circulatory system involves the heart and all of the blood vessels that carry blood to all of the parts of your body. These are the main arteries. The heart, the aorta, takes blood. The descending aorta, the ascending aorta, and these are carotid arteries taking blood to the brain. Blood goes everywhere through smaller arteries and arterioles. It comes back by way of veins, which I did not draw. The veins are also blood vessels, and they push the blood back up to the heart, where it pumps the blood to the rest of the body so that the blood carries things. The blood carries waste products. The blood carries the CO2 back to the lungs where you expel it. The blood gets cleaned. The blood goes through filters. The blood goes through filters in your kidneys. And in the kidneys, the blood is filtered, and the liquid waste comes out of the kidneys and goes down to the bladder, which stores the urine. And then the urine comes down the ureters to the bladder. Then it goes from the bladder through the urethra and comes out through either what we call the opening is called the urinary meatus. They call that the urinary meatus in women and men, the actual hole where the urine comes out. This happens to be a male, and he's got testes and a scrotum and a little bit of hair and a penis. And you can use those terms because they are clinical and technical and not offensive. If you keep in mind, you don't want to use vulgar terms. Okay, if you want to appear professional, or if you want to fake people out and pretend to be official, use the proper terms. We have a system of the body called, well, that's the arterial system. We did the circulatory system, circulates blood throughout the body, which carries nutrients and oxygen to every part of the body and waste products back. They're filtered out by the kidneys. The waste products are also filtered out by the liver back here. The liver filters out a lot of the medicines we take so that we don't take too much. The liver filters things out. It has a little duct that goes into the guts that allows some of the toxic waste to come out of our body and go into our intestine and be excreted. The urinary system, as I've said, is the kidneys, the bladder, and the urethra. The endocrine system